Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members get access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. Let me just start by saying, if you ever find yourself slinging pancakes on the graveyard shift at a 24-hour IHOP, don't, and I repeat, don't take a vape break in the walk-in freezer. I'm Dylan. My best bud Trey and I got hired 2 weeks ago because our old job at the bowling alley snack bar burned down. Long story, flaming mozzarella sticks. But IHOP didn't ask questions, and we were broke. The pay's trash, but the real perk? We work the back kitchen, which means nobody bothers us unless we're late with the eggs. Trey's the kind of dude who wears socks with aliens on them and swears he once made eye contact with Bigfoot behind a Taco Bell dumpster. Me? I'm more grounded. I just believe in ghosts, time travel, and that New Jersey is cursed. It was 2:47 a.m., and the restaurant was full of drunk college kids chanting "Waffle Gang" at a poor waitress named Melinda, who looked like she was one syrup drip away from quitting life. Trey was flipping bacon like a bored ninja, and I was scraping burnt cheese off the flat top when he goes, "Yo, bro, freezer break?" I nodded. No words needed. It was time. We grabbed the vape pen, a sleek little device with a mysterious strain called Cosmic Syrup No. 9, and slipped into the walk-in like it was Narnia. Trey hit the pen, coughed like a grandpa, passed it to me, and I took a long pull. That's when the door slammed shut behind us. "Did you kick it?" I asked, exhaling a cloud. Trey held his hands up. "Bro, I swear on my Funko Pop collection, I didn't touch nothing." The lights flickered once, twice. Then a vent above us rattled and something fluttered out, landing gently at our feet like a leaf in a horror movie. It was a sheet of yellowed paper, crinkled and stained with what I really hope was syrup. Across the top, in bold, shaky letters, "Welcome to Flapjack Zone." Follow the rules or flip forever. Trey squatted down to read it like it was ancient scripture. Do not speak to the pancake with teeth. If the syrup starts dripping upward, run. You have one spatula. Use it wisely. The customer with no face always tips. Give him what he wants. You cannot leave until the bacon screams. We looked at each other. Trey blinked. "Bro, we dead." I laughed nervously. But then, the freezer changed. The shelves of eggs and pancake batter folded in on themselves, vanishing into a swirling purple vortex. The floor rippled like a pond. My vape pen dropped and rolled away into the darkness. A low hum filled the air, like 1,000 microwaves turning on at once. And then it spoke. "Order up." Suddenly we were standing on what looked like a cosmic IHOP patio floating in black space. The tables were made of bone-white ceramic. The sky was dripping syrup like rain. A stack of pancakes in a booth turned and grinned at us with jagged, buttery teeth. "Welcome, line cooks," it hissed. Trey screamed, like full scream, like middle school talent show scream. I grabbed the rule sheet, which was now glowing. The pancake lunged from the booth, flapping its maple syrup tongue, but Trey, in a panic, whipped the silver spatula from his apron like a lightsaber and smacked it midair. The pancake exploded into a cloud of cinnamon mist. "Dude," Trey yelled. "Did I just—" "You flipped that thing," I yelled back. "Rule 1, don't talk to it. Rule doesn't say you can't slap it." "This is insane! What is happening?" I held up the rule sheet. A new line had appeared. Pancake defeated. 4 more tasks remain. "Tasks?" I muttered. "This is like a haunted waffle quest." And that's when we heard it. A shrill, greasy wail from beyond a syrup-soaked archway. The bacon was beginning to scream. So there we were, two kitchen stoners on a cosmic IHOP patio, staring into a syrup-dripping void, rule sheet in hand, and adrenaline fighting our last vape hit. Trey, hands still shaking, wiped pancake goo off his spatula like a warrior cleaning blood off his blade. "Dylan," he whispered, "that pancake had molars. Like, adult teeth, bro." Before I could respond, a new sound slithered through the air. The bacon was screaming, like a tortured piglet being flash-fried in existential terror. Trey leaned toward me, wide-eyed. "That's the bacon. That's gotta be the bacon. We can leave now, right?" I checked the rule sheet. You cannot leave until the bacon screams. It was screaming. But before we could test the get-the-hell-out theory, the ground beneath us rumbled like a stomach after a bad gas station burrito. A door appeared in the air. Just appeared, hanging there like a glitch in reality. It was the freezer door, glowing blue with frost around the edges. "This is it!" I shouted. "Let's go before something else." Suddenly, a figure burst through the syrup archway, a massive, pulsating blob of bacon strips twisted together like rope, dragging a greasy butcher's cleaver the size of a canoe paddle. Its face? Pure nightmare fuel. Bacon slices curled into lips, 2 runny egg yolks for eyes, and sausage links braided into a beard. "Order up," it gurgled in a raspy voice that sounded like a smoker choking on maple syrup. "Bro," Trey yelled, "we gotta flip that thing." "No," I said, pointing at the rule sheet. "There's nothing about flipping the bacon golem." "Then what do we do?" I squinted. Another rule was fading in, ink writing itself like ghost fingers on paper. 6. Only sizzling truth defeats the bacon beast. "What does that even mean?" I shrieked. "I don't know," Trey said, trembling. "But one time in therapy, my mom said I hide behind jokes instead of expressing real feelings, so maybe I'll just try that." He stepped forward and shouted at the bacon golem, "My dad never hugged me and I don't know how to say I love you to my dog." The bacon golem screeched, staggered backward, and dropped its cleaver. I blinked. "You just emotionally damaged a meat monster." Trey turned to me, eyes glassy. "I feel weirdly better." I cleared my throat and stepped forward too. "All right, here goes," I shouted. "I still wear socks with holes because I'm scared of buying grown-up ones, and I think I peaked in high school shop class." Crack. Boom. The bacon golem exploded into a rain of greasy mist and shredded pork. A final scream echoed as it dissolved into ash. Then silence. The rule sheet fluttered once more in my hand. New ink appeared. Task 2 complete. 3 remain. Time paused. Door open. The freezer door creaked. Beyond it, the real IHOP freezer. Same metal walls. Same smell. Same mop bucket that always looked suspiciously like it had blood in it. Trey turned to me, face pale and sweaty. That was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. Also, I'm starving. "You think we got time for a pancake?" We stepped through. Whoosh. Back in the kitchen. Melinda's voice rang out front. "Order for table 6 is up." "Where's the eggs?" I looked at the clock. 2:48 a.m. We'd been gone. 30 seconds. Trey and I looked at each other, then slowly opened the fridge for eggs like nothing happened. "Did we just save the multiverse?" he asked quietly. "No idea," I said. "But I'm not eating bacon for a while." Behind us, the freezer let out a soft hum, and something inside giggled. Trey and I had barely processed our emotional bacon battle when the freezer hummed again, low, menacing like a grandma's fart warning before she stands up too fast. I dropped the spatula. Trey was mid-bite on a cold pancake. "Oh no," he mumbled, mouth full. "It's calling us again." The light above the freezer flickered. The door creaked. A sticky note slid out from the bottom like the freezer was handing us a receipt from hell. Written in syrupy handwriting, "You're needed again. Bring the spatula. And the butter." Trey raised an eyebrow. "The butter?" I opened the fridge. There, glowing faintly gold, was a stick of butter wrapped in wax paper with strange markings carved into it. "I think it's a map," I whispered. Trey leaned in. "Of course it is. Because normal butter is for normies and we're apparently cursed now." We took the butter map and stepped back into the freezer. Lights flickered. Air turned electric. Flash. We were no longer in Kansas or Kansas adjacent, wherever this IHOP was. We stood on a massive syrup-glazed battlefield. Pancake craters, sausage trenches, and emerging from the golden fog, waffle beasts. 10 feet tall, 4 legs, grid-shaped torsos steaming with fresh batter, and mouths full of jagged butter pats. Their eyes were 2 glowing blueberries, and they hissed like old waffle irons. "They're beautiful!" Trey screamed in horror. I unrolled the butter map. It shimmered in the fog, pointing toward a hill made of scrambled eggs. At the top, a silver bell, glowing. "The bell ends the trial," I said, reading a new rule that appeared on the butter. 7. Ring the bell of brunch before the beasts batter your souls. Cool, Trey said. "So we're just sprinting past waffle monsters toward a hill made of eggs to ring the bell of brunch. Totally normal." One waffle beast roared and charged. "Go!" I screamed. We ran like grease fire evacuees. Trey hurled a sausage link like a javelin. It bounced off the beast's face, doing absolutely nothing. "Don't look back," I yelled. "I'm not," he yelled back. "But I can still hear its buttery growl." We scrambled up the egg hill, slipping on yolk. I reached the top, smacked the bell of brunch with the spatula. Ding! A wave of white light exploded outward like someone nuked brunch with divine power. The waffle beast froze, then slowly crumbled into syrup and flour, melting into the battlefield. Trey collapsed beside me, covered in yolk and spiritual trauma. We both stared at the butter map. It rolled itself back up and dissolved into mist. The spatula vibrated in my hand. A new line appeared in my head, like someone whispered it directly into my frontal lobe. "Check task 3 complete. 2 remain." Time paused. Door open. The freezer door appeared in the fog. We stepped through. Back in the kitchen. Melinda walked by yelling, "Dylan, if you burn another omelet, I swear I'm gonna smother you with the menu." Trey and I stood there, shell-shocked, dripping egg and butter. "I want a shower and a hug from Gordon Ramsay," Trey whispered. Suddenly, something thumped in the freezer behind us. We turned around slowly. The next mission was waiting. The freezer thumped again, twice like it had a heartbeat. Trey and I looked at each other like 2 kids who just found out the bouncy house is alive and wants blood. "Nope," I muttered. "I'm out. I quit. I'm moving to Nebraska and becoming an asparagus farmer." But before I could flee into a career of seasonal produce, the rule sheet flew out from under the prep table and smacked me in the ankle like a pissed-off grandma's sandal. It read, Mission 4. Seek the Hashbrown Oracle. Accept the wisdom. Survive the decision. Do not interrupt her sizzling. Trey leaned over my shoulder. "Bro, I think this one's spiritual." The freezer glowed blue again. We sighed, grabbed the spatula, and stepped through like 2 dudes clocking in at a job that absolutely did not pay enough for cosmic trauma. Flash. We landed in a temple made entirely of burnt toast and bacon strips, lit by flickering yolk lamps hanging from sausage chains. A giant flat-top griddle sat in the middle of the temple, sizzling, smoke rising like holy incense. And in the center, floating a foot above the surface, was her, the Hashbrown Oracle. A towering, glowing stack of hash browns, golden, crunchy, and shaped like a majestic woman. Her hair was fried onions. Her eyes, 2 ketchup dollops that blinked slowly. She spoke in a voice that echoed like thunder wrapped in breakfast wisdom. "Welcome, short order fools." Trey tried to bow but slipped on a grease puddle and ate the floor. The Oracle ignored him. "You may ask me one question, but choose wisely. The Friar of Fate is fickle." I looked at Trey. He looked at me. We both knew what the question had to be. I stepped forward. "O mighty Hashbrown Oracle, I said, trying not to cry from the smell. How do we stop this madness? What is this place? She sizzled louder. Then she whispered, there are no shifts, only layers. The IHOP is eternal. This is one of many. They're everywhere. Rule breakers feed the syrup, and you are the next candidates. Suddenly the griddle flared red, and her eyes turned black. A new rule burned into the air. 8. If she starts to fry, lie. Tell her what she wants to hear. Her voice dropped a few octaves. Do you wish to join us forever? Trey screamed. Yes! No! You look great today! I panicked. We live to serve pancakes and truth. We respect all hash browns. The Oracle's face twisted, then calmed. Her eyes returned to ketchup. Her body stopped sizzling. You may pass, she said. A final flap of the rule sheet marked, Task 4 complete. 1 remains. Time paused. Door open. She floated backward and disappeared into the fryer, vanishing into the grease like a breakfast ghost. We stumbled through the portal, re-entering the real freezer, coughing and smelling like onion rings in shame. Back in the kitchen, Melinda poked her head in. You guys look like you got attacked by brunch. Table 9's mad about their toast. Get it together. We just nodded like shell-shocked veterans. Then Trey whispered, Bro, what happens when we finish all the tasks? I didn't answer, because deep down, I already knew. The freezer had been quiet for a full 5 minutes. We stood there, still covered in grease, hash brown crumbs, and the distant trauma of being judged by a sentient starch stack. Maybe that was it, Trey whispered. Maybe we passed the test. I nodded. Maybe we're finally... Wham! The freezer exploded open, not physically, but like someone hit pause on reality and then punched play in a whole new timeline. The final rule sheet hovered in the air like a divine parking ticket. Final task. Enter the infinite breakfast. Accept your place, or escape, if you still can. Another note was scribbled at the bottom. Bring syrup, you're gonna need it. Trey grabbed a bottle of maple from the shelf like it was a Molotov. Locked and loaded. We stepped through. Flash. We landed in a cathedral made of waffles, floating in a swirling galaxy of orange juice rivers and egg-white stars. A giant menu floated in the sky above us, pages turning in the wind. At the center, on a throne made of pancakes and despair, sat the host. He was 8 feet tall, wearing a cracked name tag that said, Manager. His eyes were 2 spinning coffee cups. His voice sounded like 1,000 order tickets being printed at once. Welcome, recruits. You've passed the tests. You've flipped. You've served. You've survived. He raised a giant spatula. But now, you must choose. 2 doors appeared behind him. One glowed blue. Exit. The other flickered red. Staff forever. Join us in the eternal shift, he said. Time does not exist. Only orders, only customers. Endless breakfast, endless rules. I turned to Trey. He was already crying. I can't flip another pancake, bro. I can't live like this. The host stood. Choose, or be chosen. Then, a small line of syrup began dripping from the air. Upward. Trey yelled, Rule 2. If syrup goes up, run. I threw the syrup bottle at the host. It exploded like a grenade. He screamed, dissolving into a pile of cursed toast points. The doors began to collapse. Go! I yelled. We sprinted, leapt, dove headfirst through the exit door. Boom! Back in the freezer. No swirling portal, no rules, just boxes of frozen sausage and a weird smell that might have been Trey's socks. The clock read 2:49 a.m. 1 minute had passed. We stumbled out into the kitchen like 2 war vets. Melinda walked by and paused. Why do you smell like trauma and cinnamon? We didn't answer. We just looked at each other. Trey pulled the mangled rule sheet from his apron pocket and held it up. It crumbled into dust. And then, we swore a sacred oath. Never vape in the freezer again. Well, until next Friday.